Greetings friends, Ian Higton from Eurogamer here. Now, The Outer Worlds has been out for a couple of weeks now, and during that time, I've been skipping around the Halcyon system looking for as many Easter eggs as I could find. In the following video, I'll be showing off a collection of 22 in-jokes, movie references, and video game Easter eggs that feature in the game. So there'll be plenty here to keep you entertained if you enjoy that kind of thing. Be warned though, some of the situations shown in this video are a little on the spoilery side, so proceed with caution if you're yet to complete the game. And remember, it's not the best choice, it's Spacer's choice.
That's the Spacer's choice, Spear. Take what you have, polish it up, and make the best of it.
I think it's pretty safe to say that your first interaction with Martin Callahan here will be pretty memorable. Martin is a consumer-facing representative of Spacer's Choice, and he'll try his best to flog you a wide range of Spacer's Choice products, regardless of their quality. It's not Martin's sales pitches that'll stick in your mind though, it's his rather creepy Spacer's Choice Moonman helmet.
What kind of depraved mind would conjure such a nightmare?
Moonman is the Spacer's Choice company mascot, and if it looks familiar to you in any way, it might be because you've seen the surreal 1902 French adventure film A Trip to the Moon, which also features a moon with a really creepy face. In that film, a bunch of French astronomers accidentally crashed their space rocket into the right eye of the man in the moon, causing his freaky face to bleed profusely. Nightmarish. If you fancy creeping out the inhabitants of Halcyon yourself, by the way, Martin sells enough Moonman helmets to outfit your whole crew, so snap 'em up while you can. Don't bother trying to get a look at the real face of this man in the moon though. Martin's helmet never comes off, even if you kill him and steal it from his corpse.
This guy's real easy to fuck with.
Oh, what are you doing here?
There are countless references to Futurama in The Outer Worlds, so many in fact that you could probably do a separate list video on just those alone. I'm too lazy to do that though, so instead I've picked my favourite two, starting with this one, which takes place in Byzantium, the capital city of Terra 2. To find it, head to the maintenance tunnels entrance and speak to this chap, Giles Molina. Giles has lost his favourite lab sprats and asks you to retrieve them from the tunnels. It's not as easy as it sounds though, because the tunnels are crawling with exterminator mechanicals and the exit is guarded by Kobalos, the mega sprat who, it turns out, does not like being poked.
Aw, I was hoping we could bring him home. You'd let me have a giant sprat, right, Captain? As long as I fed it?
Anyway, long story short, each of the sprats you need to rescue has a funny name, and one of them goes by the title of Lady Philippa Farnsworth, which to the uninitiated is a mashup of the names Philip J. Fry and Professor Farnsworth, who are of course two of the main characters in Futurama. Just a quickie this next one, but it always makes me smile when Nyoka occasionally shouts, "To shreds you say," after triggering her special ability.
To shreds, you say?
If you don't already know, this quote is a reference to the following scene from the Futurama episode, I, Roommate.
Did he at least die painlessly? To shreds, you say?
If there's one thing more heavily referenced in The Outer Worlds than Futurama, it has to be Firefly. Joss Whedon's short-lived Space Cowboy series was obviously a huge inspiration for the game. There are many sly nods to the TV series in here. I mean, why else would cows appear in the hold of the Unreliable every so often?
Can't think of a reason.
The biggest reference to Firefly, though, has to be the existence of the Firefly Corporation, an energy company that not only makes generators like this one found behind the landing pad in Cilia, but also all the energy-based ammo in the game. Ooh, shiny. The Outer Worlds doesn't just reference movies and TV shows though. As you'll see in this next Easter egg, The Outer Worlds also gives a cheeky wink to pen and paper role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
not actually one of them, are you?
Take a trip to Roseway Gardens on Terra 2, where you go to meet Anton Crane during the distress signal mission, and wander over to the luxury apartments building. Head straight in and go through the door on the right to enter this small apartment, where, on the desk in front of you, you'll find a collectible book. Examine this book in your inventory and you'll see that it's called Systems and Serfdom, while the detail on the spine mimics the look of a Dungeons & Dragons rulebook. Finally, the description of the book reads, "Everything you need to generate a character and get started." Maybe I should pass this one on to my pals the Ox Venturers now I'm done with it.
Chewed up and spit out. What sort of creature, other than humans, would be so wasteful?
This next Easter egg should have you shouting, "Coral!" at the top of your lungs, because it's a reference to everyone's favourite zombie TV series, The Walking Dead. Land on the Roseway landing pad and approach the front gate of Roseway Gardens with Vicar Max to hear him say this.
Should have put up a sign. Don't open, Raptidons inside.
That quote is a direct reference to the famous Don't Dead Open Inside scene in the very first episode of The Walking Dead.
Any mercy from me.
There's been a bit of a trend recently in regard to video games having recipes hidden inside them, and The Outer Worlds is no different. Journey to the storage facility south of the Roseway landing pad and make your way to the top floor to find this room, which contains a dead scientist and a recipe for something called concentrated distillate. The recipe itself is written on the blackboard just behind the corpse, and if you follow its instructions, you'll be able to make yourself a delicious batch of what looks to be apple pie cider. Perhaps remove the dead body before you get cooking, though. Otherwise, the Food Standards Agency will come down on you like a ton of bricks. As most of you will probably know, The Outer Worlds was made by Obsidian Entertainment, who, among other things, helped create one of the best-loved Fallout games around, Fallout New Vegas. Before Obsidian became Obsidian, though, many of its developers worked for a studio named Black Isle, which worked on both Fallout and Fallout 2, so it should come as no surprise that there are plenty of Fallout Easter eggs in here, one of which appears right at the start of the game in the intro cinematic. Right here on this monitor, we can see that the colony ship Hope was first discovered drifting in space on the 23rd of October, which is exactly the same day that the Great War in the Fallout series kicked off with a bang. Now, obviously, there's a few hundred years difference with the timing here, but still, having both events happen on the same day and month as each other has got to be a reference for all you die-hard Fallout fans out there.
Your family was part of that group that entered Vault 13.
Continuing on with the Fallout Easter eggs, this next one is a shout out to the original game in the series, 1997's Fallout. Pop along to the Groundbreaker and head through customs to see these big 13s written on the walls either side of this hangar. These 13s are of course a direct reference to the first Fallout game, as Vault 13 was the home of the player character, the Vault Dweller. Now, hold on Ian, you might be thinking, that's just a random number on a wall. You're reading too much into this, mate. Well, yes, maybe you're right, but at the same time, if you enter the hangar that those numbers are flanking and go right to the end, you'll notice what looks to be a huge Vault-Tec door right at the back of the hangar. That's proof enough for me, so let's not fall out about it, eh? This final Fallout footnote can be found throughout the game, but only true Fallout fans will have spotted it. See this blueprint here? This is the blueprint for Fallout's water chip, which is the main quest item in the first Fallout game. What's interesting about this blueprint though is that it's not actually a blueprint at all. It's actually a schematic diagram for a theremin, which is that weird spooky musical instrument that makes all those wee-woo noises. Actually, that reminds me, I should probably think about selling my theremin now because I haven't touched it in years.
Meet my corporate compliance crew. Then check out our weapons locker inside. I reckon you'll find something you like.
Let's focus on some more musical instruments of destruction with these next two Easter eggs, starting with this gun here, Thunder. To find Thunder, you have to first rescue Bertold Fox from a giant mantiqueen and then meet him at his base, the C3 barracks in the Monarch Wilderness. As a reward for saving his ass, he allows you entry to the barracks, where you can find Thunder on a table. But what's so special about Thunder? Well, if you read the blurb, it says that Thunder is perfect for a young gun with a quick fuse, which is the first line in the song Thunder by Imagine Dragons.
Just a young gun with a quick fuse.
Not sure Bertold imagined that Thunder would be used for this, though.
Everyone all right?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Bertold, but I thought you were a sucker for pain.
Let's end this quick! That's the last of them.
This next musical mentioning is all about the Beatles, or more specifically, their song Maxwell's Silver Hammer from the Abbey Road album. Take a magical mystery tour to the Emerald Vale General Store and peruse the weapons on offer to find a Spacer's Choice weapon named Maxwell, a hammer that, of course, comes in a lovely shade of silver. This one-handed mallet isn't exactly the most powerful of weapons in the game, but judging by what it's done to poor old Esther Blaine here, I'm pretty sure it'd make short work of Joan's head too. Let's go back to the movies now as we head on over to the Amber Heights settlement on Monarch. Make your way to the rear of the settlement, and just behind a rocky outcrop, you'll spot two iconoclast rioters watching a third rioter as he creates his very own trash cubes.
A trash cube.
Yeah, look at him. He just keeps making them. It's fucking weird, Carl.
I don't think he can hear you. He's in the zone.
The trash cube zone.
You gotta admit, they're convenient. Fit together real nice.
Trash is trash. I don't care what shape it's in.
I guess.
If it hasn't already clicked with you, these cubes of crap are a nice little nod to everyone's favourite trash bot, Wall-E. And as an extra treat for all you trash cube lovers out there, if you head to Scylla's landing pad and walk behind your ship, you'll be able to soak up this magnificent view. A wall of giant trash cubes that would surely make Carl go weak at the knees. It's time for another old school movie reference now as we head down into the depths of Groundbreaker's back bays to face the flamethrower wielding crazy Captain McCred.
Time to feed the flames. It's nothing personal. Promise.
Once you've dealt with McCred and his crew, loot the captain's body and steal his signature weapon, Montag. According to the weapon description, this flamethrower burns at about 506 Kelvin, which, for fire fans, is 451 degrees Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit 451 is a novel by Ray Bradbury that presents a future American society where books are outlawed and firemen burn any that are found. And of course, the lead character in that book is called Guy Montag. Sick burn, eh?
What are we drinking? You're the expert?
Okay, next up is both a film reference and a nod to a classic meme. Complete any companion's questline and the Anything for a Friend trophy or achievement will pop up, and this features a very familiar looking icon. Yep, you guessed it, it's that epic handshake scene from Predator where Dutch meets Dylan near the start of the film.
You son of a bitch!
You can't make a sci-fi game and not throw in a couple of cheeky nods to the Star Wars movies, and, as you'll see from these next two smaggy eggies, The Outer Worlds does not disappoint at all. This first one can be found on the abandoned space station HRS-1084 during the mission The Ice Palace, but it won't trigger unless you have a UDL identity cartridge, so make sure you swing by the mess hall on your way to the power terminal and swipe one from this chair. Then just head down the ramp, avoiding mines where possible, and log on to this terminal.
Wait, who are you? No one told me we had security forces deployed on the station already.
Once the corporate commander starts talking to you, you'll be able to choose this dialogue option, which will be instantly recognisable to Star Wars fans as Han's crappy response to being questioned during the Princess Leia jailbreak scene.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
You're fine? Who is this? What's your operating number?
Don't move along, because number 17 on this list is definitely the Easter egg you've been looking for.
What was that?
What? I don't need to see your identification. Move along.
There's no need to explain this one really, but if you want to replicate it for yourself, the best place I found for triggering this Obi-Wan inspired dialogue option was in the off-limits area of the Ministry of Accuracy and Morale on Byzantium. The cartoon Dexter's Laboratory is the target of our next reference, and it comes straight from the mouth of our favourite companion, Parvati. At a random point, while you're travelling with both her and Vicar Max during Max's mission to translate an ancient French textbook, you'll hear Parvati say this.
My dad taught me some French, you know. Stuff about omelets and, fromage. I could take a look at that journal.
Now, for Dexter's Laboratory fans, this quote is quite obviously inspired by the episode The Big Cheese.
Omelette de fromage?
Et voila! Want more Dexter's Lab Easter eggs? I'm sorry, friends. I'm afraid I can't do that. But I can show you this subtle nod to HAL 9000, the AI antagonist from 2001 A Space Odyssey.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Pop along to the bridge of the Unreliable, and there, staring at you unblinkingly from the top of the navigation computer, is a very HAL-like eye, silently watching your every move as you run amok through Halcyon. Now, this one here never talks to you like Hal talks to Dave in 2001, but the visual resemblance is strong enough for this not to be a coincidence.
Dave, this conversation can serve no purpose anymore.
Blimey, the Outer Worlds! Only you could manage to sneak an Easter egg onto your box art as well. When you first glance at the box art here, your eye is naturally drawn to the back of the player character and the beautiful alien world that stretches out in front of them. But take a look right at the bottom of the image and you'll see the legs of the Unreliable's last pilot, Alex Hawthorne, protruding from the wreckage of your escape pod. Because his legs are the same colour as the pod, it's easy to miss first time, but when you do finally spot them, it's hard not to think of that scene in The Wizard of Oz where Dorothy's house crushes the Wicked Witch's sister.
They're gone! CNP pancake mix now requires no mixing. Seriously, don't mix it.
Well, we're nearly at the end of this list, so what better time than now to have a commercial break? Or at least some Easter eggs in the shape of commercials. Over on the Groundbreaker, you'll bump into a couple of ad bots that repeatedly sing their slogans at you, whilst trying to flog you a variety of products. Most are just weird, like Boston beans, but some have some parallels to real-world products, like this spin on I can't believe it's not butter.
CNP, I can't believe it's not forced. It's unbelievable how good it is.
And of course there's this one that sounds very similar to something you might hear in an advert for Skittles.
And Rizzo Spectrum Vodka. Aftertaste the rainbow.
Crew report. Nyoka is drunk. Surprise.
And finally, this last one isn't technically an Easter egg, but it makes me smile every time I see it, so I just wanted to draw attention to it. When you enter the Unreliable, listen out for when Ada tells you that Nyoka is drunk again. When that happens, head up to her quarters and you'll be confronted by this incredible display of pass-out drunkenness. Honestly, she's out cold. There's nothing I can do to wake her up. Oh, bet she'll feel this in the morning, though. And that, my friends, is that. The Outer Worlds is still a relatively new release at this point, and I'm almost certain that there'll be some DLC in the future, so chances are high that there are many more Easter eggs and references out there in Halcyon for me to find. Feel free to share any Outer Worlds secrets you think you might have found in the comments below, and if we can discover enough of them, I'll feature them all in a follow-up video later down the line. If you're a fan of Easter eggs in general, by the way, why not have a look at our other Easter egg videos which are on screen and clickable right now. And do like this video and subscribe for daily videos from Eurogamer. Goodbye, and remember, at Eurogamer, we know our E's and G's.